Namaskar, welcome. If you have followed this channel for a while, you will know that I'm very passionate about Tantra. And the reason is simple. I find Tantra the most practical path of self-development. According to Tantric wisdom, the divine force is everywhere, and it's present in every being. But not everyone can feel its presence. And if that is the case, it is because it is still being dormant. It hasn't awakened yet. So Tantric practices are specially designed to awaken that divine force within, or to say it in a different way, the path of Tantra is to evolve from imperfection towards perfection, from animality towards divinity. But Tantra is not just about the development of each individual. It is as much about the development of the society, because the two cannot be separated. If the individuals don't evolve, the society can't evolve either. That is logical. And that is why we can't create an ideal society unless we have a certain number of ideal people. So today we will look at one specific aspect of Tantra that is related to individual development, and which demonstrates how practical and even revolutionary Tantra can be in its approach. Stay tuned. The word Tantra comes from the Sanskrit language, and it has two syllables. Tan plus tra equals Tantra. Tan means to expand, and tra means to liberate. So tantric practices such as meditation expand our awareness about existence in the universe, or we can say expand our mind and consciousness until it eventually becomes so expanded that it becomes one with that infinite cosmic consciousness. And then one has reached the goal of life. That is what we call liberation. And it means one has been liberated from all the struggles of being human. So Tan means to expand and Tra means to liberate. And that is the essence of Tantra. This means that within every being there is the potentiality to reach that divine. And sooner or later that divine force that is present in everyone will awaken. And when that happens, that person will gradually feel that urge to get closer and closer to that divine. To get closer to it is the same as becoming more and more like it. And to do that, our mind needs to think more pure thoughts, and our actions need to be very kind and benevolent. And for all this to happen, we need to go through a process of purification of both body and mind. And we need to overcome our animalistic tendencies and replace them with divine qualities. To expand the mind from its animal tendencies towards its divine potentiality, we need to conquer those emotions that contract the mind. This is anger, fear, jealousy, etc. But there are a few other elements, or we may say habits, that holds back that process of mental expansion. And that is the habit of taking intoxicants like alcohol or drugs. When one takes intoxicants, some may at first feel a bit expansive and experience an instant clarity to a certain topic that one is concentrating on. But we are here talking about toxins. And all toxins are harmful for the body and the mind, full stop. No matter if it comes from a plant. It is just a matter of time before the toxic part starts to dominate and completely overshadow that instant clarity. And gradually, over time, the mind will start to contract instead of expanding. And that subtle concentration that is necessary for success in meditation will be strongly affected. So for success in meditation, one sooner or later need to gain control over the habit of taking intoxicants. But what should one do if one likes meditation very much, but also have a strong desire to take intoxicants, and one don't have the mental strength to stop it? Many feel this way, and that may be a problem for them. Then what should they do? First, Tantra teaches us that if we have any such desires, we should never suppress them. In Tantra, suppression is considered as harmful, because if any tendency of the mind is suppressed, it means it is still there. It has just been hidden away in a corner of the mind. And sooner or later it will come back. And then it may very well come back much stronger than it was before. And then it can be completely out of control. And as an example of this is the many cases of sexual misconduct we have in recent time witnessed among religious leaders. And most of these cases are rooted in sexual suppression. So in Tantra, suppression is a big no. But back to the intoxicants. So if one has a strong desire to take intoxicants and one cannot control that desire, then the tantric practice is to take a controlled amount of it. Say for example alcohol. And then one drink that controlled amount with cosmic ideation. That means with the thought of the Supreme in the mind. And then one say, okay, this is not just a cup of wine. It is the Supreme Consciousness in the form of wine. So we let the mind take the idea of that Supreme and then we contemplate on it. We think deeply about it. And then one drink it. And if this is done with the right intention and according to certain guidelines, then every time one drink, the mind thinks of the Supreme Consciousness, which is infinite. And then the mind, and if the mind repeatedly contemplate on the infinite Supreme, the mind expand towards infinity. An expanded mind is a strong mind, but a contracted mind is a weak mind. And like this, after a period of practice, one will eventually develop the strength to control and even to stop the habit of this particular intoxicant. But it is here important to note that the amount one drinks should always be a controlled amount. And that amount should gradually decrease. And one should never use this practice as an excuse to indulge in anything. And here it is important to mention that this practice is only suitable for those who already practice meditation sincerely. Otherwise, one will not be able to take the proper cosmic ideation and the mind won't be able to expand in the desired way. This aspect of Tantra is known as Panchamakaran Tantra, or just Panchamakaran. And this Panchamakaran is one of the reasons why Tantra has been widely misunderstood. Because of this, many think that Tantra is very tolerant towards use of intoxicants. But I think you can now understand that any intoxicant will eventually crudify the mind and bring the mind down towards the lower chakras and not up towards the higher chakras as what tantric practices are aiming for. The same principle may also be used to gain control over the desire to eat meat and fish, and also to get control over the already mentioned sexual desire that may disturb the mind during meditation and other situations too. So this is just one example of how practical Tantra is. Tantra never condemn or deny any undesired tendency of the mind, but rather provides practical methods to overcome them. So let's summarize it. The aim of Tantra is to evolve towards perfection. And the purpose of practicing Panchamakaran is to gain control over certain elements, or we may say certain tendencies that distracts the process. By gaining control over those distracting elements, we make ourselves ready for the higher and subtler practices of Tantra sadhana, which have various levels according to what stage we are in. So that's all for today. If you like this video and like to learn more about Tantra and self-development, then click that subscription button down there and you will be notified when new videos are being released. And lastly, remember that Tantra is 99% practice and only 1% theory. And meditation should be practiced every day. Thank you very much and namaskar.